What's happening, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Park Lane Podcast with myself, Luke. And this week, I'm joined by two really special co-hosts, I suppose we should call you both. But I'm sure you'll recognise Hollie Alkmaar. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. I'm happy to be on it. I'm really sorry that it's taken me this long to finally have a Sunday where I'm free, but I'm looking forward to getting into it and obviously having a bit of a therapy session, I think. So cheers, Luke.
No, really appreciate it. And you dug me out of a hole this week. So, when I needed you, you were there. And also joined by Miles from Legacy 11 on TikTok. How are you, mate? First time on the show?
Yeah, all good, all good. Thank you for having me. And I agree. I think this is going to be a much needed therapy session after the last couple of games we've had. But yeah, no, pleasure to be here. Thank you.
No problem at all. For anyone that is in the chat, don't forget to, get comments in. Let us know kind of what you're up to and what your thoughts on the games were, and all that good stuff. But also make sure you like the stream. Make sure you subscribe, and if you listen on any podcast platform, make sure you click the follow button and leave us a comment. Right, let's get cracking. Let's start off and get well. I mean, we've not had a great week at Spurs, have we? To be honest, 2 games, 1 loss, 1 draw. But today we might as well call it a loss. We drew 2-2 at home, Hollie, to Bournemouth. Before we kind of get into like the nitty gritty of the game, kind of just want to get your thoughts overall on the game as a whole, because we come away with a 2-2 draw. People might be thinking, haven't seen the game, like, how can you be upset about a 2-2 draw? But give us your thoughts on it.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, I'm quite surprised that we actually managed to walk away with a point. It's just same old at the moment. We don't really seem to have a midfield. We don't really seem to create anything, and we don't really defend very well. So that's probably the way I'd put that game down. But yeah, we somehow managed to get 2 goals back again. Maybe, like we say, we'll get into it. But I was just very pleased that I can actually sit here and be like, oh wow, we haven't dropped all 3. We've got a point. So yeah, that's probably the easiest way I could kind of break it down, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Completely agree. Like, we were not good, Miles, in any part of the pitch today. But what were your thoughts as a whole in the game?
I mean, so I'm a season ticket holder. I was going to go today, but had some difficulties with trains and stuff. And watching it on TV, I was glad, to be honest, I didn't go because, as you said, we got the 2 goals back, 2-2, but like, man, it was not a good game, was it? It was just not a good performance. I mean, we were lucky to even get anything out of that game. Bournemouth 100% deserved the 3 points. Like, we'd be lying if we said that they didn't. Lucky goal from Sarr, and then Kepa just being Kepa. I mean, yeah, just it's a pretty shocking performance, especially that first half. It was pretty dire, let's be honest.
Yeah, 100%. And we'll talk about kind of what made that first half even harder than it should have been in a minute. But we'll go through some of the comments from people in the chat. So Jay has said, I'll take a draw against Bournemouth, especially because they're having a great season and they're playing well. We didn't play very well in the first half. The passes they were making were careless. Second half, we turned it around and started to play a lot better. We had more determination to get a goal back. Nice to see Romero, Solanke and Van der Ven getting minutes onto Thursday night. And the last bit saying we really need to get a result on Thursday for a chance of a trophy this season. And that's definitely a talking point that we'll get into. David Torrance has said, Miles, my guy. Thanks, David, for tuning in. Another David. David Clark has said, hi to everyone in the chat. My team for Thursday is a 3-1-4-1-1. Vicario, Romero, Danso, Van der Ven, Gray, Spence, Doggy, Sarr, Bergvall, Madison, and Solanke. And where's his mum? Just said, evening all. Where's his mum? Right. So let's talk about that, Miles. I'll come back to you and talk about Christian Romero, because, you see the starting lineup, you see Romero's back, and you think, thank God he's back. Thank God, we've got, our first class centre back, world class centre back that Real Madrid, are after. And then in 40 seconds into the game, he nearly gifts Bournemouth a goal.
No, I mean, yeah, honestly, all you hear about Romero at the moment is like, oh, he's going to be playing for Argentina. Oh, he's had these links with Real Madrid. And it's like, I'm baffled sometimes when I watch him, because I really don't think he is as reliable as everyone makes out. I mean, he started the season pretty terribly. I mean, maybe I'm being harsh, but I just remember that Leicester, that first game away, missed Vardy at the back post. Just simple things. And so I've kind of had a bit of a guard up against Romero, especially how people rate him, especially. But I don't know if it was because he has been out for all this time and he's just been coming back. But I mean, he struggled today. Early on, especially, he was putting everyone under pressure. He put Basuma under pressure with a terrible pass quite soon after that initial kind of sloppy bit of play. Just didn't seem at it today.
No, definitely. I tweeted during the game and said, I'd have hooked him probably before half time, to be honest, Hollie, because he was that bad. And as Mal said, he was kind of giving hospital passes to many players, across the pitch, and we were losing the ball in all areas. It's difficult for him because he's been out for a while, but he's been back in training for a little bit, and he wouldn't have been playing if he wasn't kind of up to as sharp as you can be without physically playing. But do you think he should have been brought into like an under 21? Do you know what I mean? When they do that to some players to try and get them some kind of fitness.
I just don't know what it is with Romero, because I think even prior, obviously him being injured, etc., I think on the ball he's very slow, and obviously with Bournemouth's press, you don't have time to be slow, and I think that was kind of the biggest giveaway. Like we kind of spoke about, obviously the hospital balls that he was kind of doing today, but just the amount of time he thought he had on the ball and he didn't, and I think that is his biggest thing with him. I just think already his head's kind of gone. He's kind of done. I mean, the thing that made me giggle, I don't know if you're going to get onto it, Luke, but his tweet after the game, it was pretty much like thanking the Argentinian medical staff rather than Spurs. And you kind of think, if you're seeing that, you're kind of like, oh, okay, we all know our medical team's awful, but to come out and just fully say, oh, cheers to the Argentinian medical team for getting me back on the pitch, blah, blah, blah. It's a bit like, okay, mate, like, fine, I get it. I think for me, Romero's probably, like you said, got his head turned. He's got some minutes today because we know it's before, obviously, the international break. And it kind of all adds it up like that, doesn't it? So, yeah, for me, he's just, although he is a good player, I think at times he thinks he has more time than he actually does.
Yeah, definitely. Is a question, kind of quick one for you guys. Would you, if somebody came in for a reasonable bid, I don't know, let's say 50 million, something like that for Romero, would you sell him, Hollie?
It's difficult because when you look at our squad at the moment and you take out someone like Romero, you're a bit like, hang on a minute, have we really got someone of that stature to kind of step in? But I'm thinking to myself, his head's already gone. I don't want a player that's just here for the sake of it. So I would say if someone comes in for him, fine, sell him, get him gone. I want players here that want to play for Spurs.
Yeah, what about you, Miles?
Yeah, it's a difficult one because we've also seen Romero at his best at times, and he has been very reliable, as you said, with the squad as well. But you know what, 50 mil, if his head's not in it, get Kevin Danso in. He goes straight in there. I love Kevin Danso. I think he's great.
Yeah, I think we've got an obligation, haven't we, with Danso anyway? As far as I'm aware, I'm not 100%, clued up with that, but I think there's an obligation to buy him at the end of the loan.
I think so.
Anyway, so and he looks better than Dragishin. Put it that way. David Clark has said in the chat, got to give Danso a mention for a player who has come into a poor performing side and has done great. At least he doesn't hesitate and gets a physical challenge without hesitation. He's an interesting one, Danso, because I thought today at times he was kind of out of position and it's being quite critical on him, but at the same time, he's had to play alongside Archie Gray, who, to be fair, you could have taken off Romero and put Gray on in the first half, and you probably would have been a lot better off. But he's done well, Hollie, hasn't he, Danso, since coming in. What I do like about him is his kind of like roaming runs forward that he does, often in matches, and kind of takes the game by the scruff of the neck. And he seems like a no nonsense defender rather than, I think with Christian Romero, you end up getting more of a prima donna defender. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think, like you said, I think as much as we've seen Romero at his best, I think it's funny for me to say because I feel like Danso is a bit more level-headed. I feel like Danso is not going to absolutely collapse someone or kebab someone at the back. I feel like with Danso, we've got already that kind of coming into his own sort of centre-back, whereas Romero, we've seen him so hot-headed. The only thing he needs to do is obviously be slightly out of position or, again, do something silly with being slow on the ball, and then the player will be in and he'll just turn around and kebab him one. So I think for me, Danso, like we've all kind of said, he's come into the team. obviously already a really kind of high thing of himself, in a sense that I'm here, I want to play for Spurs, let me do my thing. And I think that is something that we put highly regard to him. And it's the same with like Archie Gray, like you mentioned, which again was interesting that we didn't see him, like you say, come on for Romero at a certain point. I don't know if that's Ange trying to keep him for Thursday, etc. But yeah, it was just a bizarre one from Romero to be back, but not to be back, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. Especially, we didn't even mention the fact that he was captain as well. Which is even worse, from that side. But yeah, I think with Archie Gray, I think obviously he's not a centre back, so I assume that Ange doesn't really want to play him centre back unless he has to. But B, I think, as you say, he just needs a rest. What is he, 18 years old, and he's played every single game for months in pretty much every position apart from the position that he plays in. Talking about him, which I'm going off script really, but what I really like about the fact that he plays centre back, especially in this Ange Postecoglou system, is it allows him to be able to kind of play a midfield role, but from a defensive position. So whilst the defenders like to play out the back and make passes from the back, actually having a midfielder there that's able to do that a lot better than the centre back probably suits us in that sense. But obviously, it is a negative in the fact that he's not a defender, so therefore he's not so good at defending. But clearly, none of our defenders are any good at defending anyway. So catch-22 really. Miles, what do you make of Kevin Danso since he's come to Spurs?
Yeah, I think as Hollie said, he brings I feel like he brings a little bit of a level head, which is kind of the opposite of Romero, who is very kind of rash at times, let's say. I think he's solid. I think he's far better than Dragusin. If we're looking at him as a backup option, I mean, I would start him every day over Dragusin. Obviously, Archie Gray at the moment I'd put in ahead of him, but he shouldn't even really be playing there. So, I think he's a good option. I think today, do you know what? I think he struggled at times, but I think everyone struggled, to be honest. I think just going back to the game rather than just Danso, I think a lot of players looked like they were struggling. So I'm not sure if that was too much a reflection on him.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because one of the other things I noticed today was that a lot of players were just playing aimless balls, not even looking and just playing a pass, like a blind pass. And I don't know really who this is a negative on. And it kind of comes really round to the elephant in the room, really, which is Ange Postecoglou. Our fan base is very much split, or probably swaying to more, getting rid of him than keeping him. And it's really whose fault today in the bad parts of the game, whose fault was it really? Because from my side, whilst tactically there seems to be an issue with cover when the fullbacks step up, but the fact that we were giving away, let's talk about the first Bournemouth goal. First of all, what an unbelievable cross it was from their player, but it comes from Pedro Porro on a counter attack, making a 5-yard pass or 6-yard pass, straight into a defender, whereby any other team in the league, and I'm even talking Southampton, they would make that pass. So it's kind of, from my side, I didn't really see how that was a tactical fault, because that was clearly a player error. So Hollie, I kind of wanted to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I mean, that first goal wound me up. There's a lot of goals this season that have done that to me. I think Pedro Porro, he's played a lot of minutes this season, and I have been very harsh towards him, but you can't excuse giving the ball away that cheaply, especially with the kind of where we were in the pitch and how we were going forward, to then just aimlessly mispass it. And then obviously for the run to be made, for him it was weird. Obviously, I know he's busted the gut to get up there, but you've got to bust the gut to get back and defend. And obviously didn't do that because the cross came in. And there's been far too many times this season where we've seen the likes of Pedro Porro do that. So for that kind of instance, I believe, it was kind of a player kind of problem in that kind of sense. It was his fault. But tactically, I really don't know with Ange. I'm kind of in the middle. Before I was like, no, we need to stay with Ange. I can kind of see the process, but now I'm really not too sure. I mean, that midfield we started with, there's been so many times this season where I've sat there and gone, I have no idea where creativity is coming from. I have no idea how we're going to have some sort of structure in the mid to be able to defend balls, etc. And that was evident again today. But I'm also sat there thinking, Sonny and Madders dropped an absolute stinker on Thursday, so fine, drop them to the bench. It's a very hard one to be at the moment. Like you say, is it the players? Is it the manager? At the moment, I think it's just a cluster of too many things. And that is really, really annoying. Yeah, so I've kind of gone way off topic. But for me, that first goal was definitely a player fault, to put it lightly.
Yeah, so I'm going to ask you the simple question now. Like, do you think that Ange, what's the situation with Andy, like, in your opinion? Like, do you think that he's gone at the end of the season? Do you think he's gone if we lose on Thursday? Do you want him gone? Do you think it'll work?
I really don't know, because obviously prior the game just gone, I think for me, I was like, oh, he's gone if we go out of this cup. Oh, he's gone if he goes after this. And for me, it's just prolonging that kind of judgment. For me, I think Thursday, if we lose, then yeah, there's nothing left to play for the season. Cut our ties, and I guess we have to stick with Ryan Mason, because I think the last maybe month or so, I've kind of turned my head and be like, actually, I can't get behind this anymore. It's too draining. And I think, sadly, as much as we see Sonny come out and say the same thing, as much as we see these players coming out and say the same thing, he's the best manager we've had to coach and stuff. I get that, but you need to mirror that on the pitch, and I'm not seeing that at the moment.
Yeah, definitely. Like, from my side, I was so Ange in from the start, and I've been so behind him. Like, I feel like if I backtrack now, then I'm the worst person ever. So I'm not going to backtrack, and I'm just going to continue to just like back him and back him and back him. But I also agree with you. Like, if he loses on Thursday, I genuinely think that that's it. Like, that doesn't see any point in, I don't see Daniel Levy then like keeping him, because I think that, okay, if we got to a final or a semi-final and we lost, then I can understand. Like, but if we go out against, no offense to AZ Alkmaar, but if we go out against them, then it really shows that he's missing something. And that whilst I wouldn't like that to happen, I also don't know who would be able to do any better with the season that we've had and the players that we've had and the injuries we've had. And I've been thinking about this all day today. I don't even know if like Arne Slot would have done any better with this club, and that's the real point. No one would know, because Arne Slot at the moment has got the pick of Mo Salah, Nunez, Jota, Gakpo, Luis Diaz. Do you know what I mean? And we've got, whilst I thought he played great again today, Dominic Solanke, who has been injured twice, this season. So it's a really difficult situation. But Miles, I'm interested to know kind of your thoughts on Ange and where you sit.
Yeah, I mean, I've kind of been similar. I've backed him for a long, long time. I've always tried to be positive about the manager. You don't gain anything from being right about a manager, I guess, and being like, oh, well, I said he should have gone. Like, we all want the same thing. We all want Tottenham to do well. Like, I don't get that like mentality of like wanting a manager to fail. So you're right. Like, but there have been a couple of times this season where it's been really difficult to back him, and I feel like we are at the most vital point of this right now, because I've thought a lot, like you said, Hollie. Like, there's been a lot of games where I've been like, okay, if we lose this, he's gone. If we lose this, and we have lost those games, and then it's been like, actually, no, because we've got the cup, we've got the Europa League. Now we are literally at the last straw. If we lose on Thursday, I don't see how he can stay. Like, that is genuinely, and I've thought that before, but then I've been like, actually, okay, we've got a couple cup competitions left, but genuinely on Thursday, and yeah, it's a difficult one, because as you say, who do you go and get? But I mean, the season's done. It's like, we lose on Thursday, season's done. So
it's really difficult, because like, as you say, who do you physically go out there and get? Like, Daniel Levy at this point, I don't think anyone comes and buys us, right? But something would have to happen, because he's gone out and he's tried to get Jose Mourinho. He's gone out and he's got Antonio Conte. He's then gone the complete opposite and gone for what people would call a Levy signing, in terms of Ange Postecoglou, the cheap option, and that also hasn't worked out. He can't go and get Mauricio Pochettino, because the likelihood is he's tied in until at least the World Cup. I just don't know who you go out there and get, and he'd have to go and spend big money. The weird thing about our fan base is is that, we hounded out someone like Nuno, and now, he's getting all the plaudits for how well he's doing in Nottingham Forest. So is it a manager problem, or is there something deeper and it's an us problem? Do you know what I mean? It's a really difficult one. But, we have to kind of keep going and hope that we do win on Thursday. And if we do, then I think they just stick with him. I wouldn't be surprised if they don't just stick with him until summer anyway, because at least somebody's there. But it depends how toxic it gets. Do you know what I mean? Like, at half time, whatever, there were boos and all the rest of it. So who knows? Wes has come in saying, get Wes on. So Wes, give me 1 second, and if you do want to come on, I will send you the link if I can find it. So bear with me 2 secs, and we'll do that. I do want to bring this comment up from David Clark, saying, I've just come off some other Spurs podcast today, and fans saying Lucas Bergvall needs a loan move, but I thought he did really well second half. At least he showed determination and drive. Now, here's an interesting one for you guys. So I'll come back to you, Miles. Do you think that Lucas Bergvall is ready to play it like regularly in the Premier League, or do you think he needs a loan move? I think that's bizarre, personally. But what do you think?
100%. I mean, he's been brilliant. We lose him. That's a mistake, massive mistake. He's had his time elsewhere. He's a proper one for the future and for now. I think he's brilliant. Keep him 100%. There wouldn't even be any part of me thinking he needs to go anywhere.
And Hollie, what do you think?
Yeah, I don't know where that idea of a loan spell has come from, because like Miles said, he's been absolutely class when he's played. Yeah, okay, he's been unfortunate a few times, obviously, that own goal on Thursday. But apart from that, he's got so much confidence. And the thing is, he does make it, I don't mind it as much because he's still learning his craft. And to be fair, he does put us all back into it to try and get the ball back. The loan move kind of idea is a bit bizarre to me as well. Definitely need to keep him and build a squad around those core youngsters, and including Bergvall, Archie Gray, Spence, which is a madness because obviously at the start of the season, who was Spence? I'd definitely keep Bergvall.
Yeah, I think that's absolute madness, isn't it? Trying to send a player out who today came on and was pretty much a game changer in that second half. And clearly that's why Ange brought him on, because he knows what he brings. And it feels like when both him and Archie Gray first joined Spurs, it felt like Gray was the better player in terms of he seemed to pick up speed, in my opinion, better and quicker. And it looked like Lucas Bergvall was taking a bit longer, which is fair enough because he's still a youngster. But actually, over the last few weeks, it seems like he's really got the bit between his teeth, and maybe he's been allowed a bit more freedom by Ange. He seems to be kind of roaming a lot more, making runs inside, and kind of being allowed to dribble with the ball. But who knows? I think a loan move would be crazy. But let's talk to the coach himself, Wes. What do you think about a loan move for Lucas Bergvall?
Bonkers, mate. He's been our best player recently. Literally Swedish Luka Modric. Again, when he come on today, changed the game massively. He has this way of kind of almost grabbing the game by the scruff of the neck and almost wanting to take it to the opposition, regardless of who they are. And I think for a player so young to want that pressure and want that responsibility, I think is frightening, to be honest. And yeah, I think we've got an absolute gem on our hands with him. A loan move seems absolutely crazy. It got to the point today where it kind of crossed my mind where I'm like, build the fucking team round him. Genuinely build the team round him, because he is a special player. And like I said, 18, 19 to come into a new league, new country, all of that kind of stuff. I think we would be off our absolute rockers if we shipped him out on loan somewhere. Like I say, for me, he's part of the furniture. Like I say, build the fucking team round him because he's that good.
You've said it better than any of us could say, mate. So thanks for that. I was going to keep talking about this game, but actually time runs on and we've got a lot to talk about. So we're going to move on. But I was wondering, why is Wes in the chat? Why is he saying, get me on the show? I thought he might want a week off or something. He just rushed home from the game. Then I remembered our score predictor table. So every week, if those who don't tune in, we predict the scores for the Premier League games. And, Wes was on last week, predicted his score. So I'll bring up the scores. I predicted 2-0 Spurs. Winnie had his pick from the wheel and nearly got it correct, to be fair, with 3-2 Spurs. Dave also had the predictor wheel because he wasn't on, and he got 4-2 Bournemouth. Callum also got 5-3 Bournemouth because of the mystery wheel. But Wesley predicted 2-2 draw, which means not only is the only person to predict the right scoreline, but he also is the only person to get any points. So that means that Wes got 3 points and the rest of us all got 0. So that does this to the predictor table now, where Dave and Winnie were running away with it with 15 points. Wes has now clawed it back to 11. I, last year's champion, only got 7. And Callum is only on 6. So a lot to play for at the top of the league and not a lot to play for us at the bottom of the league. So that's why you decided to come on, Wes. Do you have anything to say yourself?
Yeah, my score prediction, I think, was quite fortunate, given that Bournemouth obviously scored, I think their second goal, by the way, was an absolutely wonderful, wonderful goal. And I was kind of at the game, obviously, today, and I was like, what a goal that is. But the goal that got disallowed was equally as good of a goal.
Yeah.
And I think those 2 goals probably in particular are up there for me in terms of team goals, like some of the best that you're going to see in the league this season. So I do count myself slightly fortunate with my score prediction, obviously with Bournemouth getting one chalked off. So, but no, absolutely buzzing to finally get one right. To be honest, it has been a long, long while. I think I'm on a bit of I think I was on a bit more of a goal drought than Rasmus Højlund is for United at the moment. So yeah, to get one right was nice, to be fair.
You know what? You predicted 2-2 so many times that I said on last week's show that my phone actually pre-predicted that it was going to be 2-2. You know, at the top of your phone, it tells you like what they think you're going to write. And as soon as it went to Wes's name, it was like, oh, do you want to say 2-2? I thought, oh, fair enough.
It's that insane thing of if you keep going and keep going, it was going to come eventually. So yeah, today was obviously the right one.
Exactly, mate. Exactly. I think this season, especially with predicting scores, it's near impossible. So fair play to you for doing that. I think Winnie's had most of his luck from the mystery wheel. So we'll see how that gets on towards the end of the show when we predict the Fulham game. But let's kind of do a 2-in-1 chat now, and let's talk about last Thursday and this Thursday coming. Europa League last 16 tie against AZ Alkmaar. Wes, I'll actually come to you even though I just spoke to you because I believe, if I'm not mistaken, you did say that we were probably going to lose 1-0 in that game, and we did lose 1-0. I said I'd be happy with a 1-1 draw. For some reason, there was that feeling that it was going to be a tricky tie because it's Spurs, and that's what we like to do. But what were your overall thoughts on that game?
Yeah, I think the performance, I think every Spurs fan has seen time and time again, absolutely stunk the gaff out. I think the reason why I was kind of saying we could end up losing it 1-0 is down to our away record in Europe. Like, it is shocking. Like, it is terrible. So I think that probably played a part in my line of thinking. But obviously, I think the circumstances around the goal, really, really unfortunate. But we offered absolutely nothing on Thursday. And that's why I think today is probably more frustrating as well, because we were looking for that reaction from Thursday, haven't seen it. Now this Thursday coming up becomes even bigger than what it was last week. I think the only positive I think any Spurs fan can really take from Thursday is the fact the score was only 1-0 because RZ had some really good chances. I think if Poku had his shooting boots on Thursday, he could have walked away with a good couple. And the fact that the second leg is at home, and we would like to think that we can't be as bad away from home like we were last week at home, if that makes sense. So yeah, I think those are probably the only positives coming out of it on last Thursday, to be fair.
Yeah, no, that's a fair assessment, to be honest, mate. Miles, do you echo kind of that review of the game? I know Lucas Bergvall say is very unlucky, it's just a take one second, takes his eye off the ball, and that's it. He scuffed it into his own net. But do you think we can turn it around on Thursday night at home?
I mean, yeah. I mean, classic Tottenham. Of course, we have it all to do in the second leg. I mean, we never make it easy, do we? And I agree. It's going to these European games. I wasn't confident. Even going into it, I wasn't confident. I mean, yeah, it was scrappy. It was an awful watch. Let's be honest. I mean, these teams, everyone underestimates them, but they have a game plan. They know what they're doing. We always underestimate these teams. Whether it was that when we lost 3-2 a few years ago with Mourinho, that horrible game with the hat trick from Orsic. We always do it, and it's like they get their goal. Yeah, okay, it was really unfortunate, but then they knew what they were doing. Sat back, 11 men behind the ball. Realistically, should have had two or three probably. And when you're in this kind of form of lacking creativity, lacking sharpness, you're going to struggle no matter who you're playing. So we've got it all to do on Thursday, and I think today's made me even more nervous, to be honest.
Yeah, no, it's only natural to be nervous, I think. Whereas I think it was your first. Oh, am I stuttering or not? It was your first ever show when we did have that match, with Jose Mourinho. So it's only natural, I think, to be nervous. But Hollie, what are your thoughts for Thursday night?
I'm dreading it. Luckily, I'm at an event for work, so I get to miss it, which is nice. But no, I think today I wanted a bit more of a reaction. The thing that peeved me off the most in that AZ game, the first leg, was Sonny and Maddison doing their free kick routine. That still lives rent free in my head. And which is why, like I said earlier, the fact that we didn't see Maddison and Son start, I don't know if that was kind of like a you're on the naughty step sort of thing. I'm not too sure whether that was just to save them for this game on Thursday. But the fact that we had a rest, they didn't, kind of shows again, like, I don't know how we do this to ourselves. I think to only have one shot on target is mental as well. We have to have some sort of confidence come Thursday. The players have to believe in themselves, because I swear to God, if we go out of this European Cup tie, like the season's done, and I'm bored of every season being like this, and especially how bad we are doing in the league as well. The fact that I feel like we've tried to put all our eggs into this basket and they're falling out the bottom currently. So for me, it's a win or bust. Evidently, like I really do think the players need to sort their lives out, because that's the thing on the pitch. We can moan about Ange, we can say this, that, about Ange. I think he has got it wrong a lot of the time, tactically. But at the end of the day, it's those players, and if they clearly want to win something this season, this is the best opportunity we have right now. So I'm hoping they sort themselves out and give themselves a shake. But I'm not too sure. I'm just glad I'm not watching it, so it's great.
Yeah, I just want to check. Can everybody hear me okay? Because my end is like stuttering big time. Like, so my video end is like lagging for everyone. But as long as you can all hear me, that's fine. Perfect. That's it, isn't it, Hollie? Like, it's the only thing that we've got to play for. But the issue that I have, right, and this is a kind of like weird thing that I've been thinking of again today, is that Ange always talks about how he allows the dressing room to be the player's space, right? And he doesn't tend to get too involved in it or all the rest of it, pre-match and everything else. But yet we do tend to see in first half of games, we don't tend to come out as well. Like, how much time is he spending in there? Team talks. How much time is he, giving to the players? Because it's all right to give them that space, but then, what is he actually offering? Because we don't tend to come out of games where's first half with a lot of fight. Do you think that's an issue that there might be?
Luke, was that to me? Sorry, I don't know if it's because you were lagging. Yeah, no, I think, to be fair, if you look at Conte's time at Tottenham, first half of games we were bloody atrocious, and it was like Conte had to literally give everybody a rocket, and then second half we would have to come out and try and turn things around. So I don't know if it's the players' issue, I don't know if it's Ange's issue. I kind of get it from his point of view, where it's like, anything major, I think it's like, look, lads, that's your space, that's your demeanour, like go sort it out amongst yourselves. But I think there has to be an element of, getting into the players. I wouldn't say getting into their heads, but obviously allowing them to be motivated enough to be able to play is probably the best way and the most diplomatic way I can describe it. But at the same time, if you need to get up for a game, any game of football, then I think there's probably a mentality issue with an individual. But Ange is supposed to be really, really good at public speaking. So, and we hear a lot about his team talks, this match day -1 thing, how he sort of comes into his own. And I don't know if we're really seeing that at the moment, because I mean today first half I've not seen that bad decision making almost across the board from everybody for a long time, and obviously that can't be on Ange, that is on players. But yeah, it just feels like, I think at the moment there's this whole thing of, there's a part of it that's potentially Ange, I wouldn't say at fault, but potentially is to blame for the predicament that we're in. And also there's this other part, I think, where, it's on the players and what they are producing or not in some cases.
Yeah, definitely. I was going to actually ask a different question, Miles, but Wes has kind of maybe changed my mind. And it's really about mentality at Spurs. Like, he is right. It's not just been in today's game. It's not just been under Ange Postecoglou. It's just not just been under Antonio Conte. It's not just been under Jose Mourinho. Like, this has been a problem for quite a long time, and probably since Mauricio Pochettino's era, I would say. And even before that, we probably had a weak mentality as well. So what do you think needs to be done club level? Because it's not just players, because players have been and gone. We've got rid of the bad eggs and things like that. Where do you sit in terms of kind of that mentality, and how does that change? Because changing a coach clearly isn't going to work when it seems to be a club issue.
Yeah, I mean that's the golden question, isn't it, for Tottenham? Everything seems to be. It always stems back to either who's at the top of the club or the lack of mentality that we have, and this kind of, let's face it, we do have this kind of monkey on our back, this trophy thing. It is just following us every single season, it's this many years since Tottenham last won, and all that kind of stuff. It's a really difficult one, and you're right. It's at the moment, it's regardless of the group of players, regardless of the manager, it is just every season we see some sort of failure, like year after year. And I think ultimately, when it is year after year and it is all the players, it is just, I think you do have to look at the top of the club and the ownership. I think it has to go back to that. I think it always has to stem back to that. It's a difficult question to answer that.
So, yeah, I know it's a difficult one. But are you, because I've not had you on before, so I'm asking you all the tough questions.
Yeah.
Are you leaving in or are you leaving out?
No, I'm leaving out. I think you can't, even from just a logistical point of view, in terms of running a football club, I just don't think you can have all the facilities we have, all the players we have, and the stature of the club, and have been this unsuccessful and unproductive in the last however many years. It's just failure. It's failure on the pitch. And I get all the business stuff. I get all the stadium. Of course, that is brilliant. But if you're not then producing that on the football pitch, and there's clear signs as well with the whole like wage spend and all that when there's clear signs of what we could be doing better, it's like, come on, we've got to change. You're not going to stay the same, and we're going to suddenly win trophies and change the manager and we're going to win trophies. It's not going to happen. Clearly, that hasn't worked. And when you say as well, we've gone from Mourinho, Conte, Pochettino before, now Postecoglou. It's like we've tried everything, and it's like something's not working. So, at what point do you start to say, well, actually, it's probably stemming from the top?
Yeah, I don't disagree. With that, I think we can all sit there and say, we appreciate everything that he's done for this football club in terms of finances and everything else. But at the same time, at some point, that mentality issue, Hollie, seems to be stemming all the way from the top, because, as I say, we've even forgotten Nuno in all of that. That's how short he was at Spurs. But we've gone through all of these managers and nothing seems to be changing.
It's because they're always the common denominator. kind of like what Miles said, we've tried everything, and there's one group or one person that's still at the top, and that hasn't changed, and we haven't changed. So yeah, it's 100%, I believe, their problem. Yes, there's lots of different factors that kind of stimulate that, but they are always there, and they haven't. I would say they haven't gone above and beyond what you need to do to run a football club. Yes, they're amazing business people, and I say this all the time. They've done a magnificent thing for Spurs off the pitch. It's on the pitch we lack, and which is something that really drives me nuts, because if you're a successful football team, the money comes anyway, and that's the thing that always gets me. But yeah, it's 100% those eggs at the top, I like to call them.
Yeah, fair enough. And whether they will leave this football club, whether they will sell up, is beyond me. My only concern, and it always has been, is then who comes in, and that's a question really for another day. But let's talk about Dominic Solanke before we move on to Fulham, because that was the next question I was going to come to, and I'll come back to you, Hollie. Do you think he's going to be really, really important when it comes to Thursday night's match, against AZ Alkmaar? Because I feel like everyone knows my thoughts on Matthias Tell. I just don't think he's suited, to play through the middle on his own personally. Especially, in this system. Maybe a manager can find a way to work with him, I don't know. But I feel like Dominic Solanke, again today, shows, how good he is. There was that one moment, didn't really come to anything, but the ball got hammered at him from about 40 yards. He jumped up, managed to header the ball, over to the winger, who was then able to kind of do something with it. And it felt like, I think it was to Brennan Johnson, wasn't it? But, he offers something that not a lot of other players offer. And really, he probably offers something similar, but just a lower standard to what we have with Harry Kane.
Oh, definitely. I definitely see those kind of comparisons. He's great at holding the ball up. He's great, like you say, in the air, and that's something that we've kind of missed. It just baffles me sometimes that Pedro Porro is the only one that seems to get crosses into the box. But yeah, like you've said, I think he's going to be a real kind of. I feel like having him in the side from the off on Thursday is definitely going to be a massive advantage for us, especially if we know that the players need to go out and do something. Having Solanke at the top at the helm is really going to be something, because again, he's going to be the one that's going to be pressing. We always say how much he does off the ball, and rightfully so, because we need that kind of in our game. But yeah, I think having Solanke back in the mixer, I was kind of surprised that he was okay, obviously after he limped off on Thursday. So I'm glad that he's okay. But yeah, he needs to start, and we need to use him properly. Get some more crosses into the box.
Yeah, 100%. That's the one issue I would say with Ange's system, Wes, is that he is so reluctant in terms of crossing. I don't know it inside and out, but I've been trying to read through his book, and I think some of it is to do with the fact of recycling the ball and keeping possession. If you put in crosses in, sometimes you're just putting aimless crosses into the box. I know you as a football coach, maybe I'll just shed some light on that, instead. But kind of what are your thoughts on that? Because Domi's good in the air, so why are we not putting more crosses in?
Because we've got players that can't cross the road. Never mind the football. Could be one. I think. I think the whole narrative in terms of just chucking the ball into the box now has kind of changed. If you look at the way teams play in terms of them wanting to get crosses into the box, it's not high crosses, and I think that's probably where you were talking about there in terms of that unpredictability, and all of a sudden it turns into sort of a 50-50 chance. A lot of teams now really cross low in the front part of the front part of the box. It's almost in that in and around the 6-yard line, and that sort of second 6-yard box as we would call it. But I mean, yeah, I think agree with Dave. I think especially second half, Solanke was absolutely starved of service. So might need to get on the phone to his mate Marcus Rashford for a bit of grub tonight. But yeah, I think in terms of crossing, and today was really frustrating because we got ourselves into some really good positions. I think Spence not being naturally left-footed killed that momentum a little bit because he's having to chop back in onto his right foot, etc., etc. I think Odegaard, as direct as he is, and he's probably our most direct winger that we've got at the club, I think at times today got caught up in 2 or 3 different minds in terms of what he wanted to do, and I think that's where he lost the ball, especially on that left-hand side. Johnson ain't got a clue. Want him to succeed, but he's just not it. He's not he's not it. Like, yeah. And Porro was Bournemouth's best player today, so you know, there's kind of issues that you've got. I think you've got this ideal in terms of, yes, this is one of my principles when we attack. Here's how we put the crosses in: low, hard, along the floor. But then it's about attacking the space, and I think I've mentioned this on numerous podcasts before. You're putting balls into the box. You got to have, either if it's not Solanke attacking the ball along the floor, you got to have your winger on the opposite side that recognises that momentum, that opportunity to get in on the opposite side. That's probably the only good thing that Brennan Johnson is good for in a Spurs shirt, is attacking the space from the opposite side. So, yeah, I think it's a feature of how teams want to play. If they get it wide, put crosses into the box. I think it's how they are delivered, which has changed a lot over the last probably 5 to 10 years, I would say. And I'd probably coincide that with Pep coming over to England, to be honest.
Yeah, that's fair enough. And I thought that Odegaard, exactly as you said, I felt like today, at times he was breaking down the wing, and then his mind would switch to, no, I need to cut it back, or I need to take a touch, or I need to make that pass in field, rather than his natural instinct was just kind of take on his man. But then at times he got so confused about what he was meant to do that he then lost control of the ball, regained the ball, lost control of the ball, and kind of killed that momentum. Like, he seems like a player where really you want to kind of just allow him to be a winger, which is just, use that pace and hit the defender and then try and get across him. But maybe, maybe that is a tactical issue for us.
I don't know. Like you say, Odegaard second half was brilliant, because I think when I've watched Odegaard, and this was a big feature of him at Burnley, I think, and it was partly one of the reasons why I wish I mentioned in the summer for us to sign him. He just gets the ball and wants to just run at you, and we haven't really got a winger that wants to do that. I think obviously Burnley last year had him and Luka Koleosho as well. I know sort of both of them missed sort of parts of the season. I think Koleosho in particular, but when Koleosho did play, he was exactly the same on the opposite side, and they're both rapid. So it was like, for a fullback, you think you're getting a rest on one side. Well, no, you got two absolute speedsters. But yeah, I think Odegaard looked more comfortable on that right hand side. He's able to go both ways, which is a big plus. And I think once he's up to, because I still think he's feeling his way back. But I think, for me personally, he has to start more, because I think what we've seen today is that he can offer more and something different compared to the wingers that we have, and the wide players that we have at Tottenham at the moment.
I can see he can play on the right, but then there's no issue to play, Son and Odegaard. Odegaard just plays on the right instead of Johnson. So there's definitely an option there. Miles, I want to talk again about Dominic Solanke. Do you think he's key to, if we get anything out of this game on Thursday night, key to Spurs? And how do you rate him since he's come to Spurs?
Yeah, I really like him. I also think he was one of those players that I really wanted to like as well. So when he came in, I was like, finally, like, we've got a Premier League proven striker, which I was happy about. And then, yeah, just he hit a really good kind of purple patch. Obviously getting those couple goals against Villa earlier on in the season, and then like scoring against United, and then obviously those other goals in the cup. I really like him. I think he's going to be crucial. Again, he's one of these players I have no doubt about with us. I think in our best team, he starts every day. So yeah, I really like him.
Yeah, 100%. I think he offers like lots of different things to us as well. So he's good in the air. He's good at kind of being a poacher, and he's really, really good at being a target man, to be able to win the ball and kind of create those counter attacks that we tend to want to do. But I'm gonna kind of ask everyone a really difficult question. Now, don't worry, there's no scoring on this, just for a bit of fun, for our score on Thursday night for the game. So I'll start with Wes, as you're the guy who knows how to predict the scores. So I'll come to you first. What do you think the score will be at home to AZ Alkmaar?
3-1 Spurs.
Do you know what? That's exactly what I was going to say, because I was going to go 2-0, but I thought there's no chance. I always seem to go with a 0, and Spurs never keep clean sheets. I don't know why I would do that. So I'll probably going to also go 3-1, and I feel like Miles might go something similar. What are you going to go for?
You know what? Let's make it different. I'm going to say 4-1. We come out, we go for it. Yeah, 4-1. Let's do it.
Amazing. Whereas your dad's also gone 3-1. Jay has gone 2-1 Spurs, which actually would make it a draw. So not ideal, to be quite honest. Hollie, what are you going for?
Oh, I really don't know, to be honest with you. I really want to be optimistic, but they're sucking the life out of me at the moment. And I've just seen Wes's mum score in the chat, so I'm going to go 3-2.
So again, on aggregate, a draw. So
Yeah. And then it can happen whatever it wants to do in the penalties, because I'm not watching it.
So that takes us to extra time, is that right?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I believe there's no away goals, yeah. Oh dear. David Clark said he's already said 3-1 earlier, so clearly we're all copying. So yeah, let's crack on. Let's be really brief. Let's talk about Fulham next weekend. A weird one. It's one of those ones where they've changed the time, so it's 1:30 on Sunday. Fulham have been playing not too badly this season, Miles. You know, they've under Marcus Silva, they seem to be doing quite well, but the last couple of weeks, I feel like they've, this week especially, they lost as well. Do you think there's a chance that, this is a game where we should be winning, right? You look at Spurs against Fulham. This is a game where Spurs should be, coming out on top. But as form goes, we're also not doing too great at the moment. How do you sit with this one? And also, do you feel like there's any sort of rivalry with Fulham?
Yeah, I mean, I think this season I've never looked at a single game and thought we should be winning this, to be honest. And then especially with a team like Fulham, obviously we have a bit of recent history with them. Last season, obviously we got thrashed at their place and got knocked out in the cup as well, like one of Ange's first games. So I don't like that fixture at all, to be honest. But yeah, I mean, look, it's weird. It's in a week's time, but things could be so different. Either we're riding a high of going through on Thursday night, and it's like, well, yeah, okay, if we win, we draw, whatever, we've got through. Or, we're out of that and we're in a bit of a state, and it's all toxic, to be honest. So I think we can win, but yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see where we're at in a week's time.
I know I'm kind of like over the league, to be honest. Like, I just think there's not really anything for us to play for. The only thing I really care about is the Europa League. But obviously, Ange has to play a good team in the league to, because no one wants to see us sitting down in 13th or wherever we currently are. So, where do you sit with the Fulham game? They are a team that could cause us problems, but at the same time, they're a team that we really should be beaten.
Yeah, but we can't really chat to Fulham, Brighton, and them man anymore. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, I think Fulham away for us in the last few seasons, or the few seasons that we've been there, has been really, really tricky. I don't think this game is or the Fulham game is gonna go very well. My line of thinking behind that is we're gonna put so much into Thursday, and with the tight turnaround, plus our record after European games isn't great anyway. So add that all in, and I think I can't really see us getting a result. Fulham are, as you mentioned, Luke, a half decent side. They got some good players that can really hurt us. You look at someone like a Wobie will have that little bit of extra fire being next to Arsenal. Smith Rowe the same. I think even Sander Berge looks like a Premier League player now. In that Fulham team, as any FM player knows, Sander Berge was like one of the go-tos, and then all of a sudden goes to Sheffield United and Burnley and stinks the gaff out. But I think he's found a bit more of a home. He's looking a bit more settled at Fulham now. So yeah, I think we're really going to struggle personally away to Fulham. But I think it's going to be down to the effects of Thursday, as opposed to us being generally shit, to be honest.
Because we are genuinely shit.
There is that as well. There is that as well. But I just think Thursday's going to take a lot out of us mentally and physically. Tight turnaround. I can't really see us getting anything from Fulham away, to be fair.
Yeah, fair enough. Hollie, we win on Thursday, but we lose against Fulham. Do you take that
Yeah.
That was
slap
easy.
your
Yeah,
hand off.
right, let's move on.
Yeah, move on. No, I'd slap your hand. I think the thing is, we've all kind of said it's like the league is pretty much done and dusted. Yeah, okay, we don't want to slip down the table anymore, but you know what? If it means we're still in Europe, sweet, because that means we can actually walk away with something this year. Because we ain't walking away with nothing in the Prem. So yeah, obviously I don't want to lose games, but if that was the scenario, fine, sweet, so be it.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. Do you think we can beat Fulham?
To be honest with you, I have no idea. Even if I had a crystal ball, I couldn't tell you because you literally don't know how we're going to play. I mean, if it's anything like recent form, then shite. So we probably will lose.
No, fair enough. I completely and utterly agree. Right, now is the fun time for us all to predict the Fulham scorelines. Now, thanks to me reminding people, I did get some scores from some of the other boys today. So just so that we're aware, I know David's gone for 2-1 Fulham to beat Spurs, and Callum has gone 3-1 Fulham. So far, not very positive looking. I'll start with the guests. So Hollie, I'll come to you first. What are you thinking for the Fulham game?
The trouble is I can never sit here and say Spurs are going to lose, as in, like, I can't give a losing scoreline. So I'm going to keep it on the fence and just say we'll draw 2-2.
2-2, gone for a Wes scoreline. I've got a feeling that you might also go 2-2, to be honest. But I'll come to you, Miles. Like, what are you thinking for Fulham? Do you think we've got enough to beat them? What's the scoreline going to be?
Yeah, I think it's going to be difficult. I can't see us winning, to be honest. 1-1. I don't think it's going to be a good game.
1-1. This is like the worst part of the show, and it's right at the very end, so at least people don't get to watch this bit. No, they're drinking. But people seem to echo that. So David Clark has also gone 2-2. Wes, your mum has actually smashed it, 4-2 Spurs. Off the back of the Europa League second leg,
Yeah.
3-2 extra time game that she's gone for. She's now saying we're going to beat them 4-2, so love that. Big J's gone for 2-2. What are you going for in the score predictor table?
3-0 Fulham.
Are you actually?
Yeah, deadly serious. 3-0 Fulham.
Oh, come back, right. 3-0 Fulham. Never met a big bunch of Judases in all my life. But, right, we write all this down. Right, 3-0 Fulham. Okay, I'm not going to go next because I'm going to let the wheel predict Winnie's score because Winnie has the best of luck. So let me just spin the wheel for Winnie and see what the scoreline is going to be for him.
17-0 Fulham. That should be Winnie's score.
4-0 Fulham. Right. 4-0 Fulham. Do you know what? I was going to go for a draw, but I'm not.
2-2, Luke.
Yeah, do you know what? I was going to go 2-2 actually. But that wouldn't be very fun because everyone's gone for draws. So I'm going to go 3-1 Spurs. Why not? Fuck it. Let's see what happens. Let's go all out. Anyway, that kind of wraps us up. We will find out next week. So just to run through the scorelines, I've gone for 3-1 Spurs. Winnie has gone for 4-0 Fulham. Dave's gone for 2-1 Fulham. Wes has gone for 3-0 Fulham. And Callum has gone for 3-1 Fulham. Turns out we're a Fulham podcast and not a Spurs podcast. But only time will tell till next week when we can go through who got the all-important scores. I do want to thank everybody that's tuned in tonight because we've had quite a lot of you tuned in, so really appreciate that. Miles, I'll come to you first. Thank you so much for coming on, making your debut on the channel. You're welcome back anytime. Now is your time to plug whatever you've got going on and try and get some people to follow you.
Yeah, so as you can see on my name, this is Miles, and then Legacy XI. Legacy XI is my TikTok and YouTube account. So obviously do a lot of Tottenham stuff on there, Tottenham reactions when I go to the games, try and vlog them as well. But then also just football stuff in general, football culture, football aesthetic stuff, football fashion, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, you'll find some Tottenham content on there as well. So go check it out.
Yeah, amazing. Definitely go out and follow, TikTok, YouTube, to Miles because he's got some really good content and you do loads of good stuff. Football shirts. I've seen some of that stuff as well. So love all of that. So keep up the good work. Hollie, thank you again for coming on. How can everyone find you?
No, thank you. Like I say, I'm so sorry because I am awful at organising my time. But this weekend, I've thoroughly enjoyed coming on. So thank you for having me. But yeah, you can go find me at Hollies Hotspurs, where I just talk about the game gone. Most weeks, it's mainly a therapy session over there. So if you need a bit of therapy, come and tune in. But make sure you obviously subscribe to the podcast here as well, Parkway.
Oh, amazing! Thank you, mate. But yeah, go over to Hollies Hotspurs and check that out because you do amazing stuff, and you always have really good guests on as well, including Wes on a Wednesday night. So thought I'd plug that before you. But Wes, I'm sure both me and Holly can predict exactly what you're going to say. But tell the people how they can find you.
Yeah, Miles hasn't heard this yet, so he's in for a treat. Yeah, where can people find me? Twitter's at Wezo10, unofficial Moussa Dembele fan account, as people regulars know by now. Usually tweeting things about the best Belgium, although I have started to tweet a bit more about Spurs lately. Good or bad, I don't know at this point. We'll have to see. Instagram's at Wezo32. Obviously, I was at the game today. I'm going to be there Thursday, usually at some home games as well. So yeah, if anybody does recognise me from anything, feel free to come and say hello. Have my own football coaching business as well in Dele Alli, Leah Williamson and Kevin Danso country. So it's Kickoff Football Academy or Kofa MK across all the socials for that. Sometimes when Hollie can be bothered, because she forgot to mention this, that me and Hollie do a show together on a Wednesday, Hotspur Huddle, with my good friend Nelson. We tend to chat about majority of things, Spurs, a little bit of the other side as well, FPL, all the good stuff over there. But like I say, it depends when Hollie can be bothered because she never can be half the time. Waiting for her to say that she's not even going to bother this week as well. So yeah, fingers crossed we're there. And yeah, sometimes I'm on here, Luke, to be fair, if I'm not at a game. So yeah, that's a long one tonight. I've dragged that out. Absolute Radu Dragoshinned it out. But yeah, that's where people can find me doing the thing. Make sure we're liking the videos, commenting, subscribing, all the good stuff. And yeah, up the Spurs, I guess.
Yeah, amazing. Thanks for that, mate. And definitely go and check Wes out on all of his socials. I'm not going to try and repeat it all because I will get it wrong. But yeah, and if you're in Milton Keynes and you've got kids, go get them to get a few lessons from Wes. He ain't cheap, but it's worth it. Anyway, thanks to everyone for tuning in. Really appreciate all of your comments. It's been a really good one tonight. And thanks to all my guests also that have come on and spent their Sunday nights talking about Spurs after today's shit show. But, we'll be back and there'll be lots of clips out on social media throughout the week. So don't forget to tune in. Don't forget to like. Don't forget to subscribe. And as we always do, before we end the show, a massive come on, you Spurs. Come on,